Hello, team. It's time for the Daily Detangler. All right. And today it's about checking for understanding. What am I doing by checking for understanding? Well, you'll find out. We're going to talk a little bit about situation that happened, action I took, and then this idea of production. And what does that mean? Invoking the principles, I am trying to lean into an experience that observes what's happening, right? And tries to detangle myself real time. And I'm leaning into that as I have been over the last few months, well, a few weeks, I guess. And this is over 100 episodes. It's actually 106 now. And what I see happening around me with regard to, just having courage here with regard to how do I create C slides? How do I add the right kind of value? How do I produce outputs? And what's going on with all of these inputs? And how can I detangle myself? And from the director's cut, number 2, Catalyst is talking about this idea of we got to do the work and push up the hill. And when I look at what he meant by that, and that's really the theme here, what does Catalyst mean by these things? What does he mean by pushing the boulder up the hill? What do I see here? What is he a broken record about, and why is he a broken record on these things? And he keeps saying we're not engaging on these things, or we're not doing these things. So why am I not doing that? Why am I not doing that? And what's happening right now? And if you think about the engine of the ability to produce, and the engine that we have as a team, and the horsepower that we have on our team, how do we get what we need out of our engine? If I think of the engine as our team, what kind of fuel, what kind of air, what kind of spark does it need? And there's this constant tug of war that I have in my own head around, we got a lot to figure out. And then these dates come up where we need these outputs, and we got to get the outputs done. And it's like, figure stuff out, get stuff done, figure stuff out, get stuff done. Am I figuring stuff out all the time, or am I getting stuff done? What does that even mean? What does that even mean? And if I think about, getting stuff done, and I think of all the get stuff done in flight, right? What is it? What does it mean to get stuff done? And what does it mean to figure stuff out? And if I'm in a bunch of flight paths, and there's a figure stuff out flight path, and there's a get stuff done flight path, I'm wrestling with things like, here comes a mini series on cave people on one hand, and I'm like figuring stuff out on cave people. And then on the other hand, it's hey, we have a IQVIA meeting and I need C slides. How do I get C slides done? And how does that relate to cave people, if at all? Figure stuff out, get stuff done, collides. And then what about, like, hey, let's take this capability journey, and we're going to take this capability journey. Okay, that signals to me that we're going to be getting into capabilities probably in 2 to 3 or 4 weeks. What is that about? We're going to take a journey on beer and glass and Hammurabi's code, and talk about intellectual property and how that works in context of ancient Babylonians. Figure that out. And then, hey, there's a Mimecast meeting in 30 minutes. Where's my shit? Where's my stuff? Figure it out, get it done. And it's this constant back and forth. And like on these flight paths, there's this massive amount of inputs and information. And then on the other side of that flight path of figuring this out and getting stuff done, there's this massive input to end clients. And there's these different situations that happen. There's a situation of an email coming in, and then there's a situation that maybe cuts across both figuring it out and getting it done. That's this idea of, hey, we're stuck in the mud. Maybe that's a little bit, cutting across multiple things. So what do I see there? And then when I'm, maybe in my own discussions about something like a a tangle, or if I'm talking through with activator and we're talking about what happened on a whiteboard conversation, or I'm on working on my own on something related to the daily detangler, or maybe there's activator and clarity and I are doing something, and then I'm responding to an architect angle, and then there's this thing like Towson or SES that cuts through all these things and keep coming up over and over again. And then I've got my own stuff that's out on left field that's not even related to what we're actually figuring out and getting stuff done around for clients. So like, what do I mean by that? Right? This is all, this instrumentation of these pistons, getting it done, figuring it out. Some of these are pink, some of these are blue. I probably should have made some pink and blue. The lines are pink and blue, figure it out, get it done. And the boxes could also be pink or blue, figure it out, get it done. Or maybe they're both, right? And there's thinking it through in that creative space and then putting fingers on keyboards to output something. What is that? How do I do that? And then why is Catalyst always harping on this stuff? Like he's saying, figure this out. Here's cave people, this is our solutioning process. Go. Let's do that. Let's solution like this and tap into our human nature. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then the very 3 days later, there's this very specific process of get stuff done. Phase 1 by Friday, phase 2 by next Friday, phase 3, which we're in now, by this Friday. And he sends an email which is like, hey, where are we at in this process, and are they done? And activator, where are we with that? So there's this toggling between this the actions required to do the conceptual work around cave people, and then the actions required to create leverage in the getting stuff done. And like, how do I do that? How do I detangle myself? And why is he throwing this stuff out the way he is? And why is it structured the way it is? And at the same time, there's a lot of complicated stuff. I don't want to use complex because I think complex is something to lean into, but there's a lot of complicated in what we're doing and what we're tackling. And maybe it is complex, I don't know, but there's something complicated and complex. And all I'm trying to do is say, look, there's also this simple stuff. There's this simple stuff that we're trying to do. And it's like toggling back and forth there. We're tackling the ecosystem, which is big and complicated. And then this detangler is simple and small, this one I'm doing here. But doing the simple and small stuff and the type of work we're doing still requires a lot of time and a lot of structure and a lot of encoding, a lot of transmitting, and hopefully decoding. So this is not simple. Like, this is our definition of small and simple, which would be complicated to other people, right? So there's this evolution of our team and what we create along this figure stuff out and get stuff done. And our expectations are higher for figuring stuff out and getting stuff done. And so, that's a small and simple pattern. And, this is a small and simple pattern. Like, hey, let's build a questioning model. Is that really big and complicated, or is that simple? Hey, there's a picture of it, blah, blah, blah. Scripted response. Can I replay back what I'm hearing? Sure, says the speaker. Okay, because I'm going to use my own words because I have to be able to represent your point of view. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. Well, what I heard was, this is a technique. Now, I've heard this technique and activators using this technique. And, why am I not using this technique all the time? What's holding me up from using this? Is this in a big and complicated thing, or is this a small and simple ask? And then there's this process, get stuff done process. And why am I stuck on this? I'm like, I saw this email come out like, hey, where are we at with it? And I'm like, well, I'm just waiting for my stuff. But I'm also in week 3 where, so do I call Catalyst and ask him where this is, right? What do I do? This is like a process and are we following it or not? And where are we? And I'm supposed to be receiving phase 3 and it's, this week, and where is it? And how do I do it? So Do I call and, what do I do to help move it forward? How do I help without being, too overbearing? Or maybe I should call up Catalyst and go, or Clarity, and be like, where's the checklist? So, and then I've got to ask, what specific tangles get in the way, and how specifically does this process help people detangle? So I'm like, okay, well, on the daily detangler today, what do I think the specific tangles are? I don't know with regard to the process, but what I can do is say, what's holding me up from using this technique, right? What barriers do I have in using this technique? Why am I not using it? I could use this outside of our team. I could use this on our team. So how do I do that? And then more importantly, why is this so important that Catalyst would put this out? So in that view, when I do that type of, get stuff done, I can go off in my own little silo and get it done. But, part of this is we have a team, and this type of work is better to do with a team. And when I think about the team, why should we have a process to check for understanding? That seems like a good question. And and then also, why do we need a questioning process, right? Like, is that helpful? And if that's helpful, what's holding me up from using it? So, and I think about this and I plot these things out. There's the simple and complicated view, and then there's the get stuff done and the figure stuff out. And my brain, my business suit says, focus down here, get stuff done. It's more concrete and it's more simple. I can just get these things done. But is building a questioning process simple and concrete? I think it actually is. So I could do that, I think, right? And there's less variables here, and the actions are more clear to take. So if I plot these out, and okay, got variables and actions. So, completing tasks in order, that seems doable. It's a simple and concrete ask, but why am I not doing it? Right? Why am I not using it? And then, what's the challenge with the team? I'm not trying to be out here by myself. I'm trying to be with the team. So how am I communicating? And what's wrong with picking up the phone to communicate with clarity? So am I doing that? Am I communicating? It's a simple thing, communicate. Well, okay, so if I keep going on this, what's more complicated and get stuff done? Like maybe launching some sort of initiative. And, can I coordinate that? So for example, if I was going to help get ready for a microsite, the microsite might have many moving parts, but it's still concrete. It's a microsite. So who am I going to coordinate with, right? This is how I try to figure out what to do. And, I think about, okay, that's more complicated, but we can do it all together. But how do I coordinate that? And how does that work, right? And if I think about the orb, the people, the process, the information for that, how do I do that, right? So I end up creating questions for myself, and I'm creating questions for myself, and I'm creating questions for myself, right? And then that leaves, it makes it really hard to go over to the right side. But if I was just going to have a single catalyst conversation, that allows me to get on the court, how do I calibrate with him? And how do I tune my message? How do I tune what I'm doing? How do I get ready to get in front of Mimecast or IQVIA? How do I view Catalyst as the client? And am I doing that or not? And what am I doing to help calibrate with him and figure stuff out with him? And, what's preventing me from doing that? And I, have all these like mental barriers. What is that? What's stopping me from calibrating? And then finally, this idea of collaborating or orchestrating impact in the ecosystem, that's pretty complicated, and it's a lot of shit to figure out. How do I collaborate if I can't do these other things? How do I collaborate if I can't calibrate, coordinate, communicate? And that's a challenge. And it's this idea of, to me, moving out of the operate and innovate. So what Catalyst says, hey, here's a process. What's he trying to do? He's trying to help us and help me communicate more as a team and build something together that we can get leverage. Does the idea of, creating shared understanding, is that important to help us get stuff done and figure stuff out? It seems logical, but I get tangled, right? So what's holding me back from just doing that simple ask? And I see three things, three tangles. One is, why are we doing something so basic as drilling into a technique? When I first got the email, I'm like, uh-oh, now we're really doing some drills. This is like blow the whistle. We're doing a drill, and is this beneath me, right? Not my job to do that, And I'm like, I had a millisecond of that thought, and I'm like, well, what's he really trying to do here, right? We're trying to bridge strategy to tactics. That's going to trigger my tangles because I'm in this, space in the middle. So what tangle is that? I'm like, oh, this is beneath me, not my job. It's not my job. But then I say, well, is my job to be clear? Yeah. So, I need to keep that in check. How does this relate? How does this relate to what we're doing? This idea of let me play back what I'm hearing. And how does this relate now to cave people and everything else going on? I'm not seeing how this is going to help. And how do I prioritize? And I go back to, and I use this grid of what am I trying to do? And how do I balance to get stuff done with a team? Again, this is a team view. I don't want to be isolated. So what am I doing to get out of this isolation, and who am I communicating with? And so I'm like, damn it, I need to call Walter. I'm going to call Clarity. So I'm going to call Clarity and try to detangle myself. And how am I going to do that without, micromanaging him? So, I don't know how to work with the team, and let me nudge Clarity, right? So I did that earlier today. So these three tangles are related to these three here of, not my problem, not able to work with the team, and not seeing how I'm helping. And these are repeatable patterns of the tangles I constantly have. So if these are my three tangles, what is Catalyst actually saying, right? So this is my interpretation. I've already recognized that this is a tangle, and that may not reflect reality because it's my tangle. So what is he really trying to say? Is he trying to tell me it's not my problem? Is he trying to say, hey, I don't need to help, or not able to work with that? Work with anybody, and to isolate? He's not saying that. So what is he saying, right? Like, why is he doing this drill, and how does this relate, and how can I help? And he sent an email, and he outlined some of the challenges, like, what can I do to be more clear on ask? He wants that checklist. What do I need to be doing to make sure we build a foundation and to make things easier? What more inputs do I need to make this work? These are simple assignments. They shouldn't take 20 or 30 minutes. Is that unreasonable in me? I hear a lot of not having time, and it's 2 or 3 weeks a heads up notice, not enough time. What should I do about that? Should I move to a status tracking model instead of trying to rely on co-creation? How do we improve actual execution? Do I eliminate the role of activator and replace it with taskmaster? How do we drive the results we need? Are we running a model of Catalyst as customer, or something else? And if he's the customer, what's the customer satisfaction score? Right? So are these questions him saying, hey, it's not your problem, and you don't have any way to help, and don't work with anybody else? No, it's an invitation. It's like he's actually saying, hey, can you help me? Can you do anything you can, and use the team? And then it's, what can I do? These are statements of ownership. Yeah, he's probably a little bit frustrated, but in my prior self, these questions would make me like, screw you, you're trying to talk to me like I'm a little kid. you know Are we, it's like, is he trying to be passive aggressive here, or is he trying to figure something out? And these questions make a lot of sense if I plot them into my my tracker here. What is he trying to do? To him, it's a simple get stuff done exercise. It should be easy to help us communicate, and there's leverage that helps us in these other three. And getting stuck in the mud with the truck thing, what would that help us do? you know is that a collaborate thing? It was actually a simple task that he had. Share how you relate to this picture. That was the ask. And can we communicate how we relate? A lot of what we are focused on, to me, is, am I communicating? And yeah, okay, I'm biased to the communication model: encode, transmit, decode. It's a communication model. But if what I see is the communication is the lifeblood of making a change. And if I'm not communicating, and if we were to take a calculation of communication across the team and stuff, what would the communication be? What would that flow of communication be? And how do I get better at communicating so that I can really truly collaborate? So what can I do to collaborate and orchestrate ecosystem impact? Because Catalyst is up here, right? Like, he's doing it. I don't think there's any way he's not doing that. So what can I do to detangle myself to get over there? Do I just go up here, or do I go up and over like we advise our clients? So can I calibrate with Walter on something? Can I coordinate some sort of output like a microsite? Anyway, this is, to me, what I think he's trying to say. And when what I try to do is kind of plot this out. Oops, I forgot this. But I see Catalyst doing really well to say, hey, where do we need to be impacting? Well, let's be clear about why we're here. Let's be clear about how this needs to work. I need a team. The team needs to do this. And then let's be clear on what we're proving. What is our value? We're on the hook. We're changing people's careers, and they're betting their career on us. So how are we going to prove that, so that we have differentiated trust as an execution agency that they trust, that we have differentiated trust? That's the team leader's role, to understand where we impact, why we're here, how this is going to work, and what we'll prove. And then what's my role as a member, as a team member? And I took some notes here of what questions would I need to answer to detangle myself, to add the right kind of value. Is my role clear in our business strategy as an activation agency? How do I interact with others to create the services, the tangling services that matter? Do I know the answer to that? Is my role clear? And do I have the answer? If somebody asks me what my services are, could I answer that? What outcomes do I help drive, and how do I live our team's definition of success? How do I live it out? How do I embrace it and burn the ships and do it? Where do I prioritize my action to make the greatest impact? This is a daily struggle because of all the flight paths and figuring stuff out and getting stuff done. How do I prioritize my action to bend time? What's my approach to helping our team and clients grow, and Catalyst? What's my approach to helping Catalyst grow? How do I structure my work to serve other people, like this daily detangler? How do I help structure it to serve others, not just be pushing a point of view? And then what will I prove? What does my progress look like along the way? And how will I work with the team? Do I know the answers to these? What are my answers to these? And then, you know, in the context of, hey, here's a step process we're going to follow. If I answer those questions, this might be easier for me. But my ability to answer these, you know, off the tip of my tongue, isn't so great. And I think, you know, at a scale of maybe 1 to 10, I'm a 5. You know, it's halfway there. I'm making a lot of progress, but I have a long way to go. So that's a more of a challenge in how I process these asks, whether they are, you know, complicated, big, or simple and small, or something that's related to this idea of figuring stuff out or getting stuff done. And that's the challenge, is my role in that. And, you know, what is Catalyst saying is, I think he's saying to me, let's focus on the little things. Let's focus on things like, let's communicate and let's do the little simple things, because they're going to help us get out here. If we can't do the simple things, you know, how are we going to get out here? I think that's what he's saying. And that's, to me, living out the principles. You know, what's the experience and how do I have courage to do the little things? And that's me leading with me. So that's been today's Daily Detangler. Better late than never, but I thought I'd process what I'm seeing here. Love your feedback. Take care.